Welcome to the 85th episode of the Nerdom and Other Nonsense Anime Podcast. Today we are covering the 9th week of the winter 2019 anime season. As always, we include timestamps in the description of the YouTube video and podcast feed if you only want to hear about one or two specific shows, since we spoil everything every single time you listen to this podcast. My name is Leo, and if I eat enough edibles, I'd love Domestic Girlfriend too. Also with me are Bcom and Kat.
Hey! Hi. So how many edibles would it take, Leo, to get you to the point where you would enjoy anything on the couch?
Some edibles are a little bit more stronger than others, but
so like what are as a marijuana virgin, what are the best edibles, Leo?
The best edibles, they generally come in like snack or candy form. Mm-hmm. That's usually the best way to enjoy them. If you don't know specifically what they are, they're those items infused with the THC from marijuana, which is what gets you high. So,
well, yeah, but like, is it better to have a muffin or is it better to have a brownie?
It's your preference, really. Which one do you like better, a muffin or a brownie?
Well, I don't fucking know. I'm just like fascinated by the.
It's all infused in there the same.
I'm fascinated too, Leo, and I also have a business proposal, and I think we can learn from Domestic Girlfriend and from Japanese medicine, really. And obviously, like, the most direct way to experience an edible is through your butt, so we should make edible suppositories, I think.
Oh my god. Have you guys seen Future Man?
No.
Okay, there's a scene in Future Man where this guy is a chef, and he's like, I love cocaine so much, but I can't snort it through my nose because I'm losing my sense of smell. And so he starts shooting cocaine up his butt.
Oh, man. That's when you know you've hit the rock bottom.
It just reminded me of that.
Yikes. All right. Enough of the illegal drugs still talk.
Well, it depends on what state you're in.
Oh, look, TurboTax is calling me because I requested the callback, and of course they took way too long. Fuck you, TurboTax. Let's move on to nonsense. I'll start off. I historically respect the Dark Souls series of video games, yet hate playing them with a passion because they are shitty.
Understandable, I played them. Oh man, wouldn't it be awesome to watch Kat play one? She would just die and throw the controller.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Even with like both of us trying to coach her through it would be awful.
Like, it takes, I don't know, even those games, they take like a long time, and then something eventually clicks and you start to get better. But I feel like with their latest game from Software, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, which is the one that's basically set in Sengoku Jidai, Japan. Sekiro, yes.
Okay.
It's set in, say, like the Warring States period of Japan. You're this shinobi who is like indebted to a young master, and you are given the ability to resurrect from the dead as long as you like serve this like young master. And you basically the thing I like about this game compared to other Dark Souls and like Bloodborne games is it's like way more focused in terms of story. Like, all of those games have a bunch of different starting characters and like a bunch of different like builds, and they're much more like RPGs and stuff, role playing.
Wouldn't you say the other game it's more like lore instead?
Yeah, there's still lore here, but it's mostly delivered through characters actually like talking to you about it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, which I don't know. I like it more because it's more focused, and it's just like I just think the story's better. Like, I know I could go digging through like lore videos and item descriptions in Bloodborne and Dark Souls and find like some really crazy stuff in there, and that's great. But I love it when it's just like being delivered to me from a character I think is interesting more and inside the game. And it's not like it tells you everything, though. The game shows you a lot too. But yeah, like, man, I love this game so much. It's like you're playing like Hyakimaru from Dororo. You have a prosthetic left arm, which you can attach like various tools to, like axes and like spears and flamethrower and all this stuff, and like many more. And like, yeah, you just have to progress through the game by like beating increasingly more difficult like samurai, and then like spearmen, and then like monks, and then like it just gets crazy at a certain point where the enemies are like so ridiculous that it's like, oh, this is like a Dark Souls game. But man, I love it so much because like you are constantly you can't do the thing that you do in Dark Souls where you like go in, get 2 hits, and then like back away, and then go in and get 2 hits.
Okay.
Like you really need to focus on blocking and parrying your opponent's like strikes, because that is the fastest way and the easiest way to take them down, because they have 2 meters. They have their health meter, which like, yeah, you can get hits in, you can eventually take their health all the way down. But they also have a meter called poise, which is like how well they are like able to block your attacks and like parry you and stuff. So if you force them to parry you a bunch, or if you parry their attacks or dodge their attacks and counterattack, you take their poise meter down really quickly. And then once their poise meter is at the bottom, you can get a death blow on them, which is like a really cool animation of like you like slicing into their neck or like plunging your sword into their chest or something, and it's just the best. It's so good. It's so great because like it makes you feel like, oh, if I'm just like a stalwart defender and I like keep up the attack, like just keep up the pressure on my opponent, I don't even need to take his health all the way down. I just need to like force them to break, basically.
Yeah, the game kind of rewards you to do that. That's what it sounds
it's
like.
so good. It's a steep learning curve, but man, it's been so much fun.
I feel like I lost the thread of what's happening a long time ago.
I was getting ready to say, have you noticed how quiet Kat's been?
I don't know.
As you talked about that whole thing, that was her every time Braids and I started talking about video games. Just she's zoned out. She's not even there anymore.
I just don't know what anyone's talking about. They just stand there and I'm
Kat,
like,
what if I told you this game is about gathering beads so you can make necklaces to make yourself stronger?
okay, that's. But I don't.
I have 4 of those so far.
Okay.
Okay, what did you get into, Kat?
Oh, okay. So I watched the horror movie Us this weekend. Have you guys seen this yet?
No, I've seen Get Out, though, and I really want to see Us.
Oh, no.
Us?
You need to immediately go to a theater and see this fucking movie.
Yeah, I've heard. It's great.
It's better than great. It's like, oh my God. It's so fucked up.
I've seen things about this.
And like, I was in the theater with my friend, and we went to Flick's Brew House, one of my favorite places. Got us a giant pitcher of this, my favorite cider. It's called Winer's Reposado cider. It is fucking bomb because it's like cider that's been bastardized by tequila. So it's pretty strong.
Yeah.
And we're like drinking it and we're getting trashed. And like there's points in it where it scares the fuck out of you. And I'd be like, no! And like scream at the screen as I do.
Oh, you're like, that person. I hate you already.
Everyone hates me when I go to theaters. And everyone kept turning around like, is she okay?
Does she have too much?
I was so enamored with this movie because I can usually control it and at least be pretty quiet. But this movie was so good that I like was just flipping my shit. Like I'm gonna buy it if that tells you anything.
Oh, cool. Nice.
So
yeah, I'll definitely go see that. I'm pretty hype about seeing that. And I don't even really usually like horror movies, but when I hear one's like really interesting and doing something different, I'll definitely go see it.
And then every time you're on the street for days afterwards, you'll look around and be like, is there someone with scissors coming towards me right now?
Oh, that's great. That's just what we needed in today's modern society, is more people to be paranoid about everybody around them. That's perfect. That's just what we needed right now.
Oh, God. Oh, it's amazing. Everyone needs to see it. Okay.
Wow.
What else? No,
yeah.
Leo, you got something.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
Leo.
So I went to the movies too. I watched Captain Marvel, and this
Oh, yeah.
That's fine.
That's a lot of people's reaction to that movie is meh.
I don't know. I liked it. Like, the cat was amazing.
The cat's... It's a fucking cat. Of course it's amazing.
It's a cat that, like, can eat people.
It's not a cat. It's like a flirtramon or something weird is what they called it.
Giant squid monster in a cat's body.
Ooh.
Okay, so
Now you're talking.
The cat's cool. But, like, the whole movie, like, it would throw a joke out there, and they would deliver the punchline, and like I wouldn't even like crack a smile, and nobody else in the theater would even laugh at them either. So I don't know. I mean, like at the most out of me, I think I was like a, and like may have been the only one in there. It's really like a pro woman, but like it's maybe a little too aggressive with it.
I didn't think it was too aggressive. I don't know.
Well, when I thought about it and really tried to analyze it, I'm like, man, they're really shoving it in your face at times.
See, I did not really notice that at all. Like, the only thing that seemed pro-woman to me was just that there was female characters in it. But it wasn't like they were trying to shove it in your face. Like, women are the ones doing everything. It's just
okay, not technically really a spoiler because it doesn't reveal really much. But the whole scene with them trying to become women fighter pilots, and then they couldn't because they were women.
Well, but like, that was a real thing that used to happen.
Yeah, but they specifically brought that up like 5 times. And I was like, I got it the first 2, guys. It's fine. It's cool. I'm totally pro-woman. You know,
Leo's
whatever.
like, I've seen Hisone Tommaso-tan. I know what this is about.
Leo's like, this is not about me. I don't like it.
I think what I enjoyed about it was just more story to the Marvel universe. And that's really what I got the most out of it. So not really too much of me, but really what I want to talk about is I want to give a shout out to Mysteria Friends. I just really like that lesbian ecchi romance show, and they do really dial back the ecchi after like that second episode where she has the sickness in the bed. But what really grabbed my attention is Side Games Pictures, the studio behind it. They are just destroying it with animation and the quality of this animation. It is absolutely beautiful. Like just some of the episodes are mostly just these camera panning across this like beautiful scenery and stuff like that. It's like what it mostly is. It's like I have a lot of hopes for this studio. Like it's like they just built it and they did like something small and then they did this, which is like kind of a next step. I would think their next step is Zen. Like, you know, doing a 12 episode, 24-minute show, full shows. And I feel like this was just kind of just being a practice run for them. And if this is what their practice run looks like, I really can't wait when they when they really let loose, you know, how beautiful or something it's going to be. So yeah, I'm really invested in this studio and I want to see what they can do next.
Well, they're going to make series that will like support their game IPs, and like the thing is, they have so much money to do it because Side Games makes a ton of money off of mobile games and stuff. So,
I mean, that's how Rage of Bahamut got made. They just threw money at it, and it worked.
Exactly, it works. Yeah, it was good. All right. Speaking about throwing money at it, let's watch some. Let's talk about some other anime that actually did get made because people threw money at them.
Yeah,
that's great.
That was a terrible transition. Because
I know. I'll work on it. We start off with Mob Psycho 102, episode 9. Show me what you've got, band together. So it's time for Kat to get mad.
I know! I was so furious! I saw this. It's the first thing they do in the episode. They're like, that shit we did last episode, let's dial it back, rewind. I'm like, you fucker. Oh, I was so pissed off.
All I gotta say is I told you they're not dead. They're not dead. There's no way.
Like Kat and I held out hope, but even we last week were like,
why must they always do the trend? Like the weird. It's like the same every anime. Why can't an anime like just they do something fucked up and they stick to it and they're like, yep, that's what we did.
A cliche cliffhanger. Is basically what it was.
The only show I've seen really do that is Berserk, and that's why I love Berserk. Is you're like, what? Wait, they're going with this?
Yeah.
Surely this, and then they're like, yeah, no, we're doing it. Like, at least they did it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, yeah, I appreciate it when shows like really do something out of left field and like stick with it and are like, no, we're not going to walk this back. But that's not the case here. It was more of like a teaching moment. This episode is weird because it introduces like so many new things. So let me get into it. So yeah, Dimple tells Mob that, well, Dimple lies to Mob. Let's be clear, because he doesn't know that these aren't Mob's family's bodies like burning in the fire.
He halfway knew.
Well, he had a hunch.
Is what he
kind
said.
of has
you had an idea.
Yeah. but he knows that like he needs to stop Mob from like going off a cliff over like 100%.
So he lied for the good.
Yeah,
at least
exactly.
Say that. Yeah,
it was a pretty like white lie. Yeah. And yeah, Mob uses like this new sonar ability to like locate that his someone in the city. I thought he was locating his family, but he said, "Oh, I found them." And then they go and they find like these claw dudes who are on the street. And like while they're chasing them down, like another one shows up at Teruki Hanazawa's house and attacks him as well. But they cut from that to Mob like shooting down like a comet in front of these claw members with his like spiky hair and everything. And yeah, one of these claw guys has spiky hair, like huge, weird spiky hair, and he used like electricity attacks or whatever. But Mob like reverses the attack on him, basically. And he's like, I'm not interested, use something else. And like this guy doesn't have anything else. So Mob just throws him off of like 3 skyscrapers like a ping pong ball, which is damn. So Mob moves on to the next guy who has like energy armor and says he like fights with his fists, like he rips off his shirt. And Mob is just like bored of these guys and just punches this guy out like instantly. And so like the spiky haired dude called in backup, but before they arrive, these 2 dudes named Koyama and Sakurai drive up, and they're former members of Claw and ask Mob if he needs help. And Mob's like, is my family at the place that you're driving to? And when they say no, he just like instantly stops the car with his powers, like the back wheels go flying up into the air, and they're like quickly like, no, but like your friends and like Reagan are there, and he's like, oh, I guess we should hurry. So then he like turns the car into like a hovercraft and like jets them off. Like Mob's like going nuts right now. It's pretty scary how powerful he is when he is in this mode. So yeah, right. Once they arrive, Dimple explains the situation, and Reagan pulls Dimple aside to ask him, like, hey, were you actually lying about Mob families being dummies? Because how could you know? And Dimple's like, yeah, I suspect it might be true that they're alive. And Reagan decides to play along and tells Mob, like, yeah, I think your family's fine too. And Mob finally relaxes and falls asleep and goes to like 2% from 100%.
Which seems weird to me, that you go to 2% from 100%.
Well, I feel like he's done that before where he just like completely resets.
Yeah, once he goes 100% and he goes through like his phase, then he like you say, he just resets.
He didn't do that much. Like he's done a lot more before.
I don't know. He mopped the floor with those dudes.
They calmed him down though. Like I guess like he saw like, oh, the threat is over for the time being. Like my family's fine, I guess. So,
this whole episode just seemed convoluted to me. Like
I agree. Yeah,
it was not a good episode, and it should have been.
Yeah.
I was disappointed.
It's weird.
I think this is more of one of those setup type episodes where like it's setting everything up for like the next couple episodes to be like some grand battle and stuff like that.
You know, for a setup episode, I had a hard time keeping track of what was going on.
I totally agree. I was going to talk about it later, but like I really appreciate in Amazon Prime Video when you can pause any scene and see what cast members are in that scene and what their names are. I was using that for Dororo, and I was like, oh my god, if I had had that for Mob, I would be so happy right now.
Yeah, because there are a lot of like people that show up that I'm like, wait, were these people in the first season and I've forgotten about them?
I think most of them are new.
Yeah, I was like, some of them I know are new. Some of them I feel like we're supposed to know who they are, and I don't because it's been too long. It's
a bunch of cast from the first season.
Yeah, there's like all these former members of Claw who call themselves like Scars or former Scars. They all have scars on their faces. And they've been attacked by the mainline Claw for leaving Claw. And they decided like, oh, we need a strong leader to guide us. And like, they're like, yeah, we saw Reagan on TV, like giving it to the media. And we're like, this guy's a genius. We need to ask him to become our leader. And also Reagan's like office has been like burnt down because of this, and like he was just about to get some renovations done or something. I like that moment where he brings the guy who's gonna like look at the building to do some renovations. He's like, oh, that's my office, and it's like on fire. It's pretty bad. So at this point, Teru shows up carrying the guy who attacked him earlier, and they torture the guy and get him to talk, basically using a form of like waterboarding.
Okay, like, but it's fucked up because they're not using a form of waterboarding. They're using waterboarding. And
Well,
they're like,
waterboarding is specifically when you put I thought it was specifically when you put a towel over somebody's face and then dunk water in.
I think it's supposed to be
even worse.
Specifically what the most common thing they do is they put you in a weird ramp, decline where your head is down and your feet are above your head.
Well, if nobody knew how to waterboard now, they sure do.
Well, but that's the same idea, right? You make them feel like they're drowning. And then you pull them back up so they're waterboarding him, and then try to make it a joke, haha, it's funny. And I'm like, well, I mean, I hate to be a party pooper, I'll laugh at a lot of things, but I was kind of like, is it funny though, or is it fucked up?
This reminded me of a scene from Grand Theft Auto 5, the video game, where you as the player are supposed to torture a guy as part of a mission. And it's played off as kind of a joke, and it got so much.
Oh, really? I thought it was a place further in the universe when that one girl's mom waterboarded her to wake her up.
Oh yeah,
it's one of the first
that was
things
actually
you see.
Funny. I guess place further in the universe kind of pulled it off. This one was a little awkward.
Not so much. I was the same too. I was like, you guys are making me feel a little uneasy about this.
Yeah. I know I'm supposed to find it funny, but it's not getting me there. And I'll laugh at a lot of dark shit, so...
So in the fictional world of Mob, torture works, and so he says the Claw Boss was collecting foreign espers from around the world to form an army. And then they cut, and we see two of these foreign Claw Squad members named Joseph and Udo. And they're introduced to and after we see them, they just say an introduction thing. They're on the top of a building, and they're like, "This is our character introduction," and then they cut away. And it's we're introduced to the Claw Boss, who is Toichiro Suzuki, and then he's at this rally, basically talking about their plans. And then one of Claw's ultimate 5 underlings, named Hattori, uses his power to control electronic devices to hack the airwaves and broadcast the boss's speech on all of the channels in Japan, I guess. And he plans to control the world with psychic powers and rule over the powerless. And apparently his first step in doing that is destroying all of Japan. Great plan, I guess. I don't know. So the Claw Boss's son is that kid with orange hair, Sho Suzuki, who's been hanging out with Ritsu. Or who met Ritsu earlier and at the house and took his family away, whatever. Hanging out with is probably not the right term. He's pissed at his dad's broadcast though, saying that he embarrassed him. So there's some friction there. And Sho told Mob's says that Mob's parents he told them that Ritsu won a free onsen vacation, and so they're they think they just got taken away from the house because they're going on a free vacation, and they're just eating sushi at an onsen right now, and they're great. They're fine. So apparently the boss's super smart plan is for each of his 600 espers to fight 1,000 Japanese policemen, because there's 600,000 armed police in Japan or whatever, or army.
Yeah, and he's easy peasy, and I'm I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna go so well. Joseph, who is one of the foreigner squad, thinks this idea is dumb, like we do, and their faction decides to mutiny against Claw's upper echelon. So we see Udo's power, his psychic powers, to become super jacked, and he kicks some ass, and he does manage to take down a bunch of the division leaders of Claw. However, Joseph goes and meets the boss, Suzuki, in the hall, and is overcome by this umbrella dude from the Ultimate 5 named Serizawa. And also these two other Ultimate 5 members, Minegishi and Shibata, attack Udo at the same time. And then Serizawa blasts Joseph out of the building with a Kamehameha from his umbrella, but he's still alive. I guess he survived it. Funnily enough, the Scars didn't have the TV on, so they missed the whole Claw broadcast, which is just a little joke, and they're just eating dinner. But meanwhile, the Prime Minister of Japan is giving a speech about female empowerment and paid childcare. And I was like, oh, this is progressive for Japan. And then another member of the Ultimate 5 shows up named Shimazaki, who seems to be the main one. And his voice was instantly recognizable to me because it's Noriaki Sugiyama, who plays Amiya Shiro in Fate Stay Night. And his voice is just, if you've played the a million hours of that visual novel, you will never not recognize his stupid voice. So yeah.
His stupid voice.
It's annoying. It's a grating voice. It stands out, so I understand why he keeps getting work, though. The Secret Service rush on stage to protect the Prime Minister and fire shots at Shimazaki. And he's blind, but he can predict their movements, and he dodges like every bullet. And then he grabs the Prime Minister, and he's like, oh, my other power is to teleport. And he teleports him away. But Teru was watching the broadcast on TV, apparently, and then sensed them in the park when they teleported. So he gets there to attack Shimazaki. But Shimazaki, like, manhandles him. Like, he uses his teleportation to make the fight, like, a cakewalk. And, like, Teru's like, well, I'll put up this multi-layer barrier. He'll never be able to get through it. And Shimazaki just teleports inside the barrier and, like, punches him in the stomach.
He's like, oh, you're pretty good, aren't you? And then punches him.
And then the episode ends as he, like, teleports away with the Prime Minister. So, yeah, it was just this huge setup episode that introduced, like, a ton of characters.
It was too much. I couldn't keep track of it. I don't know. It was dumb.
I hate when episodes introduce this many characters at the same time. I especially hate it when it's, like, the first episode of an anime, because it's like, you're doing this all wrong. But even at this point, I'm like, I'm not even going to list all these characters' names for the podcast, because, like, who knows if any of these guys are important. Like, I'm only going to talk about the people that actually had, like, anything to do with this episode, so I don't know.
Well, I think it compounded on that it didn't just introduce new characters, it brought back a bunch that we've kind of sort of forgotten.
Yeah.
So it felt like way, way more new things were, like, introduced, and maybe not so much.
But I've definitely forgotten, like, a lot of stuff from first season.
Yeah,
so if, like,
I did a lot of glancing at my third screen where I had my anime list up, like, who was this again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was difficult because
it was a lot of that.
Yeah. Can you guys hear the faint sounds of my neighbor screaming in the background?
No, are they watching us?
It's okay. One of my neighbors has like this stupid 13-year-old kid who's going through like the preteen brat phase, and she keeps coming home and just like screaming. And I almost want to tell her, like, everyone in this fucking apartment complex can hear you screaming at your family, you fucking bitch. Shut up. Like,
I've had neighbors go through those times before, and it's annoying. It's really annoying.
I'm glad I don't live in an apartment.
So, let's move on. I've got another show, Run with the Wind, episode 20, Even If I Break. All right, so we pick up from that handoff from Jota to Joji, where Jota's like, I think Hana likes me, and Joji like screams and runs off. And he's like super thrown off by this. He's like not running well. He's all up in his head about Hanako. And like the rest of the team are kind of annoyed at Jota for like throwing Joji off of his game like that.
He should have kept his fucking mouth shut.
He should have, yeah, probably. But it was like
definitely.
It was a sudden revelation, you know?
Well, okay, he was having this inner monologue about how he needed to distance himself from his brother, and now he was going to be an adult, and blah, blah, blah. And then he does this stupid, immature thing.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not an adult at all.
But he just put it together. I understand why he was like, I have to tell him about this. But he probably doesn't know how Joji feels about Hana, so.
I feel like he probably has some idea.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like that was a little bit, like, rub it in your face. Like, she likes me more than you. Like,
I also like, we hear, like, one of them hears that Hana's, like, going forward to, like, cheer for Joji as well. And they're like, is she a demon?
Oh, I know. Don't they say, like, is she Godzilla or something? And I'm just like,
that's it, yeah. Is she a Godzilla? So Joji's trying to convince himself that, I just like Hana as a friend. And
I'm like,
she was just friends with both of us twins.
You stupid idiot. Yeah.
Yeah, he flashes back to this time when, like, Hana's cooking something in the kitchen and he's talking with her and he asks her, like, how do you tell us twins apart? Like, you always seem to know who I am. And she says, well, it's never been a problem to separate you guys because what I like about each of you is, and then she trails off. But I think what she's about to say is, like, what I like about each of you is different. And I think that's going to be the key to this whole thing. Like, she likes both of them, but she likes them in different ways. But she gets like flustered and blushes because like Jota comes in and said like, hey, we're gonna do fireworks, and she runs off. But I think it's clear what she was trying to get across. Meanwhile, the coach catches up with Joji in the car with like the loudspeakers, and he has a message from Kakeru of all people. Like Kakeru, I guess he understands love on a deep level, because he tells Joji like, if you like her, run. And Joji's like, that asshole, but then he runs like really fast.
So I love how the guy who's reading it, he's like, it's just what it says on the thing. And he like reads it. He's so unenthused. He's like, I'm too old for this shit.
Well, and the guy in like the driver's seat is giving him like a side eye at when he
like,
hears
why
this
are you
dude.
doing this? And he's just like, listen, it's just what it says. Like,
it's just, these are college students, man. All right.
I loved it.
So the other problem, of course, is that Shindo still has his fever. Haiji gets on the phone with him, but there's really nothing to say. Meanwhile, Shindo's family is up in like the snowy north of Japan, and they're gathered around TV watching him. And Shindo looks at texts from his little sister. It was a bit much, you think?
No, it killed him, right? I mean, even you have a little bit of a heart.
Just go on.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Shindo looks at texts from his little sister, who's like cheering him on to finish like first place, and so like, that's part of his motivation. Meanwhile, Rikudo has fallen back to third place overall, which I feel is important to mention, since like Kakeru is probably going to need a buffer at the end of this race if he's going to take on like Kazuma, Fujioka, and everything in the final episodes. So it's important that they're like falling back a little bit now, I feel. Shindo takes off his scarf and jacket to get ready to run, and literally almost faints into Yuki's arms, like immediately. But like, regardless, he promises, like, I'm gonna make it to the end of Section 5 no matter what it takes.
They're just playing up the drama so hard.
But like, it's, how can you have watched this and not been moved by this, Leo? Like,
because I'm not invested.
Well, my question is like, how do you make this interesting without doing dramatic things like this? Like, how do you make like 10 guys running like similar sections of a race
something else that's not 10 guys running?
Well, yeah, exactly. You do this show by doing this. Like, you have to make it dramatic. Like, I think him having a fever like is maybe a little unrealistic, but like, think about like Michael Jordan playing playoff basketball games with a fever. Like, those are like immortal sports moments.
Doesn't he have a famous story where like he played this one game sick and it was like his best game ever?
Yeah, that's the game I'm talking about. He scored like 60 points or something, or 50 points against, I can't remember, Detroit maybe? I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, but that's not what's his name is doing here. He's fucking up bad. He can barely run.
Well, he just needs to run. He just needs to make it. That's all he really needs to do. But like, yeah, when Joji passes the sash to Shindo, he realized that Shindo was like burning even hotter than him, who had just run an entire leg of the race, and he's like, man, he's in bad shape.
well, because then he feels ashamed as fuck, as he should, because he's sitting here being like, let me waste time and let me waste things on this bullshit that doesn't matter. And then this other guy comes along and he's like, I may die trying to run this fucking leg of the race. Thanks so much. Yeah. Wouldn't you feel bad?
Oh yeah, I would feel bad too. Like,
now he is a little dramatic, and like, I absolutely love the parts where he's like trying to run and it's hard. That I didn't feel like was over dramatic. I felt like Joji's reaction and being all upset and like screaming and hitting the ground was a little over the top.
I thought that was a little over the top too. I see they're at the peak of their emotions right now, but that seemed like slightly over the top.
Yeah, I was like, stopping a baby, like get up off the ground.
To be fair, Joji is a baby.
This still isn't the scene where I was finally like, for fuck's sake, stop already.
Interesting.
I'll wait till you get there.
We'll get there. So Shindo's family is watching him on TV.
Oh my god, the family killed me.
They're like horrified, right?
And this is where I was like, give me a fucking break. Like, his mom's crying, but when his sister's like, no, or yelled something, I was like, fuck this show. God damn it.
No, you know what that is? You know what that is, Leo? That's your heart giving a fuck and you being angry.
That's
like,
later in the episode, and I think it makes sense.
Sick. He has a really bad cold. Why is he's an
That's
idiot?
not that doesn't happen at this point in the episode. That's not what they're doing. That's not what they're reacting
It's
to.
not. He just has a really bad cold. He's running a marathon and he's sick as fuck. And like, it's not just he has a cold.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
don't
again,
do that.
Leo is
You're
reacting to the
stupid.
wrong part of the episode. Can I get to the actual part of the episode where they
You're
reacted to
messing up
this?
my flow.
The coach has a message for Shindo, who looks like a zombie. His family is just like staring at him in disbelief. That's all they do at this point. And they're like, why is he even running? Like, he looks terrible. And the coach has a message for Shindo, and it's like philosophy centered around like the Japanese board game Go, where it's like, yeah, it's very honorable to fight hard but secure like an exit for yourself. It's like, it's more honorable to lose in like a strong way than to like go on and look weak or something. And he basically says like, put your hand up if you want to stop running. And meanwhile, like the leaders are approaching the finish line, and like a school called Bozo finishes in first place. No clowns go to that school, surprisingly. And then Kakeru and Haiji see on the viewing screen that the coach has gotten out of the car and is jogging alongside Shindo now.
This part killed me so much. He like got out and jogged with him. It killed me.
Yeah, Shindo stops running. He stops running and hunches over to catch his breath. And the coach is like, you've done well enough. That's it. You don't need to go any farther. And he like slowly and dramatically reaches his hand out as like the anime cuts through like a whole bunch of scenes of like every member of the team watching and like thinking like, oh shit, our whole dream is ending right now.
Well, I think
and then,
if he touches him, it's like he's disqualified.
Yeah, he's
right?
disqualified. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then Shindo's family crying, and then his sister yelling out like, and Shindo thinks to himself, they're all waiting for me, and he starts running again. Mm-hmm. That's when they cry out, when they think like he's gonna stop running. That's a much different thing than like, oh, he's just like sick and running.
The sister does cry out before too, because she sees him almost pass out at one point.
That's what I reacted to. And somebody with only a slight medical background, I'm like, fucking stop that dude.
Yeah,
he should not be running. What? All of you are standing right here crying because he's trying so hard? Fucking, you're idiots. Get out there and stop him now.
But there's something honorable in trying so hard. You don't want to ruin that for him.
Yeah, but he could like literally like die.
Well, but you understand why they want to let him do it, even though it's bad, right? It's like the whole spirit of...
I do, but like I said, having slight medical background, I'm like, no, you stop him regardless. I don't care about his goddamn pride.
The part where he gets out and jogs next to him, like I sniffled a little bit, and I was watching this with someone. They looked over and they're like, "Are you gonna fucking cry?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." I'm done. This is a good episode. This was amazing.
It is a good episode. And so like he thinks to himself because like all of the runners are coming to terms with like why they run, and he's basically like, "Do I run? Why do I keep running because with all this pain and everything? And is it for my friends? Is it for my goals? Is it for myself? Or maybe it's just I'm stubborn and prideful?" He's not really sure. Like it's one of many of those things, but he just keeps going regardless.
Well, that's like bringing home the whole idea of this anime again. Like, like the whole idea of sports is not to win; it's the struggle, which I think is an amazing theme of a sports anime that I've never seen before. Like it doesn't have to be about winning, because all sports anime other than this one that I've ever watched have been about winning.
Most of them, almost all of them,
that's like the main thing I mean there's other things in there, but the main goal of the anime is we're gonna win this thing. That's not really the main goal of this.
No. So maybe they will. I doubt it, though.
No, they're not going to win.
Shindo reaches the finish line and collapses in a heap after running 20.7 kilometers with a fever, which is just insane. And he's like recovering on a futon in an inn by Lake Ashi, which is the halfway point. And like once he's awake, they call the rest of the team. I like how they like lined up 3 cell phones for 3 different voice calls simultaneously. That was kind of cute.
It was.
Everybody's just glad that Shindo's alive. I also really liked how like Shindo's talking to them, and then Haiji like comes into frame, and they all frown. They're just like, "Fuck, it's Haiji again. He's gonna say some shit now." And so they basically decide like, despite the fact that they're further behind now because obviously they lost placement with Shindo running so slowly. They're determined to make the best of it and try hard tomorrow. And like Shindo starts like the Mountains of Hakone chant and everything. But then like the most interesting scene to me at the end of this episode was like they ride the train home like back that night, and Haiji had a conversation with Kakeru about his father, who was his track coach in high school. And he's like, oh yeah, my dad's not a bad person, but he loves track to a fault. And he forced Haiji to run hard every single day until as he puts it, like he eventually broke. He screwed up his knee. And that's why this whole time he was focused on running with people who earnestly want to run. And even when like they didn't want to run in the beginning, he bent everyone to his will to achieve that. And so Kakeru tells Haiji, like, he basically tries to take the burden off his shoulders. He says, like, you didn't force anyone to run. And then he says, like, well, even if you did, I'm grateful for you doing that because it changed my life, basically, is what he's saying. So that was cool. Like, Haiji finally comes clean and is basically like, I forced all these people to do this for my own reasons. And he, like, regrets it. But then Kakeru kind of forgives him for it. And yeah, it ends with like Yuki waking up because he's going to start the next leg. But yeah, this was a pretty good episode, I thought.
So this is what amazing. I wrote word for word in the doc. If you are emotionally invested in this show, I can see how this was a great episode. But if you're not, like me, everything and everybody seems so overdramatic about the whole thing.
Yeah. It's surprising to me coming from you because like you did cross-country running.
I never remember being nowhere near this emotional.
You know,
yeah.
I feel like
I don't really
you
get
are
emotional.
Invested in a different way, Leo. You're invested in hating this anime.
I'm invested in just being bored out of my mind every single episode. I hate watching the show the most. I would rather watch Domestic Girlfriend twice.
I feel the same way about like this dumb Kemurikusa of bullshit.
Kemurikusa?
Yeah, let's talk about Kemurikusa. This was an interesting episode, kind of.
I will say I found my eyes
glazing over a little bit during this episode.
Even though they
introduced some new cool stuff, but I was also really bored.
I was really interested in all the new stuff this episode.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They continue towards the mountain across this like strange grid work of paths that like go over the red fog. I think like the red tree somehow carved these paths. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. They go up halfway up the mountain and they rest, and like Wakaba notices that you can see like islands 6 and 7 from here, and also like that one dead tree that was on one of them. I don't remember which one.
I don't know what the point of him telling us was. They also said something in a prior episode about how like the joints between the islands are weird, and I was like, is there some connection here?
I think this is going to be for a grander reveal of like actually how close these islands are and why they are islands and stuff like that. So they eventually come across like another blue wall, and when Wakaba tries to open another door, he like gets attacked by a Nushi. If you don't remember, it's like the really big bad red bug type. But interestingly, it's inside the wall, and the others can't attack it because the wall is blocking them. It's also like spreading some of the red mist inside the wall, and they decide to like let it disperse before trying to open the wall again and attacking Nushi in one hit. They rest for the night, and like Rin talks about using her main body again. If you don't remember, this came up once before, and Ritsu doesn't want her to because it's dangerous. We still don't know what that's about.
Well, we kind of find out later in the episode a little bit. Because when we meet one of the other sisters, she says, like, if I use this leaf one more time, it's the last time I can use it. So I think if Rin attacks with her main body more, that she risks like killing herself, basically.
I guess maybe. So everybody like goes to sleep, but Wakaba gets the first watch and he decides to like wander around, trying to think of something that he can do that can help. He starts like heading towards the wall and runs into Rio, the oldest sister. Fortunately, she heard from Wakaba, from Riku, and is the first sister that doesn't try to kill him right away, which I thought was kind of funny.
Maybe it's because she never opens her eyes and can't see him.
Oh yeah, she's one of those types that has like the really squinty eyes.
Yeah.
Apparently, her sense is smell. And even though she says she doesn't like to fight, like she offers to fight Wakaba and like the white one and gets like really excited talking about fighting the red tree and stuff. So like, you say you don't like to fight, but you really do. Mm-hmm. She also says she should have died, but got saved into like the Kemurikusa that's inside her now. So yeah, that was interesting. Something like a hard drive.
What the fuck is up with all of these sisters bailing on the main group and just being like, you know what? I'm out. And then they meet up with this dude by chance, all of them, magically. And they're like, oh, but you're not going to tell the sisters about us.
It's
and
weird.
He fucking doesn't. That's stupid.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because they know what that, well, actually they wouldn't. I wonder if they just know some information they haven't revealed yet, why that would be a bad thing. I mean, a lot of stuff is very mysterious. And Kat hates being in the dark. I mean, that's why she hates this show. And also, Rio also says that she fights one more time, she'll use it all up.
Mm-hmm.
And then she also says, oh, Riku's here around somewhere also. And then Rio knows that Wakaba needs to get through the wall somehow and says they can ask somebody named Ryoku, sorry. And she like calls her name a couple times, and then she just transforms into another sister with like a different outfit and glasses and everything.
The transformation was so weird. She like melts into like a gray blob and then reforms into like this glasses anime waifu. And I'm like, what?
It made me think of what's that Terminator? Not the T-1000.
T2. Wait, no, T2000? T1000? I can't remember. I haven't seen T2 in a long time.
The liquid metal one, yeah. You know what I'm talking about. And it's funny because like she doesn't really want anything to do with Wakaba until she sees him holding her diary. And then she's like, you've read the whole thing. And then she wants to kill him. So I was like, okay, now this one wants to kill him. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's the one who wrote this diary and the one that's really curious about this world. But then like the cuts away from her wanting to murder him to like the two totally weeping out on like what the hell's going on with this world and all her theories she has written in it. It's kind of funny.
That was pretty good, actually.
It's totally what they did. She tells Wakaba he needs to see if he can unlock the memory leaf since it will provide more answers. She can't unlock it herself. She also tells him the red tree is probably similar to Midori and Wakaba should be able to control it if he can touch it, since he can control all the other Kemurikusa. And then Ryoku finally decides the only way to get through the wall is to use a branch from Midori. So Wakaba goes back and he tells the others this. Midori is very precious to Ritsu, but she understands it must be done. They go to the wall and they break off a branch from Midori's Kemurikusa. And then Wakaba lures the Nushi out and Rin throws the branch and it just breaks the wall and kills that stupid red creature.
Yeah.
And they walk through and like for a second, Wakaba sees Rio and she says, you did it. But when Rin turns around, she's like gone. And it just like makes you wonder, is this all in Wakaba's head?
Yeah, maybe only he can see them. Like maybe they really are supposedly
gone?
dead.
Yeah, so there you go, Kat.
I don't know. And it's like, yeah, those two sisters are sharing this one Kemurikusa leaf that they got saved into, it looks like. Because they can only appear when the other one is not talking.
Stupid.
It's not stupid. It's just
it's
really
a fun
weird
mystery to figure out. And just one last thing to note, when talking to Ryoku earlier, she did ask if Wakabe was curious about where he came from and what his purpose was. He's like, no, but it just makes you wonder. You're like, yeah, you're the only human. Where did you came out of that damn pipe and you just were. What's going on
the
here?
big last mystery. Well, it's not the last mystery, but it's like one of the big mysteries for the end of the show. It's like, what is Wakaba?
What is going on? Kat, you're supposed to be feeling these feelings, by the way.
I don't give a fuck. I wish that the whole universe would just explode.
Why would you wish that? I think that's overkill, Kat. Are you talking about their universe or our universe?
Their universe.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about our universe. And I was like, that's a little overreaction.
I don't want everyone to die over this stupid piece of trash. What are you talking about?
That's why I was surprised. So in one of those conversations earlier with Ryoku, the girl with the glasses, they're talking about the yellow diary, and I think they did confirm that like she is not the one who whited out that part of the diary. So I think my theory about like the Rina doing it still might be correct, but I'm not sure. And then I also liked Ryoko's voice actress a lot. I looked her up because like she sounded a lot like Renge Miyauchi from No No Biori. Has that like same like really like kind of like country like recognizable voice, but it's not her. It's just like a rookie seiyuu has done very little. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. Her voice really
she
stands
also
out.
does advise to Wakaba that he needs to touch Ren's memory leaf.
Yeah.
He's like, she kind of hates me.
Yeah, good luck touching that.
Oh, I like the recurring joke where the white one says like, Ren's like stubborn or hot-headed, and he just reads it out loud, and he's like, no, he's saying it. Like,
but they've done that so many fucking times.
It's funny
I thought they
every
were
time to
repeating
me.
the same thing from the last episode. It was
like
literally
it.
the
It's
same.
It's a good repeating joke.
They're just
It's
saying
short
the same thing
and super
fucking
quick.
again.
It's a 5-second scene that they just throw in there, and it's good. It's so funny every time.
I'm kind of with Kat on this, where like each time they repeat that joke, I laugh like slightly less, to the point where I'm like just barely smirking at it now. So it's like, yeah.
Gosh.
Anyway,
So,
tell us about The Promised Neverland.
The
Thank
Promised
God.
Neverland.
Something interesting. Let's go.
Episode 9, 031145. Ray is like very shocked to find out Norman is getting shipped out tomorrow, and Norman is just like kind of standing there shocked in silence. Isabella also lets him know Emma's leg was a clean break, and don't worry, guys, it'll be healed in 2 months. Hopefully by the time of Ray's birthday. Just like, evil. Ray, Dawn, and Gilda like sit around afterwards trying to figure out what they need to do. Dawn feels like there is no hope, and like Ray is just doing his best to convince himself that they can still do this. They're even shocked at like Sister Crone's, like they know she's dead somehow. Death, who might have been the only adult ally they might have had at the time. Like their loss is just
I think
surmounted so quickly.
They're just shocked at the idea of death because they know that she's dead, and they've never like. It's just hard for them like to comprehend the idea. Because when you're a kid, it's hard. It's hard to come to terms with shit like that. I think that's really what that's about, more than they cared about her or anything.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I also think they thought of it as a sense as like she may have been helpful to us, but whatever count she was, can't now.
Oh, I guess.
Yeah. So I think that's Ray's train of thought, because he's kind of a smart little fellow. So Norman's like sitting with Emma and reassures her that the plan can still succeed and her leg will be healed in time. And Emma's just like more worried about Norman, says he has to come with them, but he just ignores her pleas and goes to like get her some water. And then finally, like at the sink, you see him like drop to his knees and he's like, shit, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Ray tells Gilda and Dawn to get ready and goes to Emma. And with like determined looks in both their eyes, they say they will have Norman go ahead and escape with them. Norman comes back to the room, and Ray tells him tomorrow afternoon they will have him disable his tracking device and pretend to escape by having him hide in the forest. Norman doesn't agree because it will heighten security and they would probably send Ray in his place instead. But then Emma remembers the demon saying that they can only have the highest grade and guesses that they wouldn't ship her because she has a broken leg. So she proposes Ray break his arm or like get a cold or something.
I love how cheerful they are about it. They're like, we'll just break your arm.
Yeah, they're smiling so wide.
And I'm just like, this is interesting.
This is like crazed optimism at this point.
Yeah.
So the way they can wrap their minds around it. And Norman is finally convinced to hide out, and Ray gives him like the device to break his tracking chip. And it just looks like a little taser, so it's like shorted out or something.
Before we get to the next part, I just want to say, like, so in those scenes where like Norman was like walking through the hallway to like the water fountain or whatever,
it was
like,
weird.
They're doing this third person behind the person camera thing, and I just was. The way Norman walks is so weird. He like sways his hips like back and forth, like, or like he like twists too much or something. It's just like, it's the weirdest walk cycle ever. Like if you go back and watch that scene, it's just, I was dying laughing, honestly, watching this scene. That's not the reaction you're supposed to be having. It's just so awkward looking. I don't know.
Oh man, well let me continue to blow your mind.
Oh yeah, this next part is some bullshit.
Yeah.
Norman finally asked Ray how in the hell he knew about the secrets of the house 6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
This is bullshit.
Yeah.
Ray says in some cases of infantile amnesia, and I'm going to explain what this is. It is a true term.
Anytime that a fucking an anime brings up the term amnesia, you know you're in for some bullshit.
Yeah, this is baby amnesia.
Yeah, so this is actually a literal medical term. It's it's just kind of tries to explain why we don't have memories, until we're like, they say 2 to 4, and then mostly very, very vague memories up until we're like 10.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of explains that. But so he says some people still retain some of their memories from being a baby. And he was one of them, and remembers seeing the demons and being divided into groups of 5 and then going through the tunnels and ending up at the house. So apparently the headquarters is actually through the tunnel, and it's surrounded by the adjacent other houses like Isabella's or plants, so to say.
Why did they decide to deliver this information in this way?
Why did they add plot spackle? Because to me, amnesia is just a universal plot spackle. It's like you put it in there, you smear it on, you fill the hole.
They could have found out this information from like Sister Crone in like a diary or something, or like a note she had left them. We didn't need Ray to have fetus memories. Like, this is the dumbest shit. Like, why would you go this far? I know these kids are supposed to be special, but
honestly,
come on.
It didn't have to be fetus memories. It could have been like, I was 1 year old and I remember like these weird like demon things. Like, it didn't have to be. They
specifically say he remembers being in a warm lake.
Yeah,
he remembers being in the womb.
Be like, I remember being a fetus. They could have been like, I remember being 1 year old and seeing a creepy demon thing, and it like imprinted itself on my mind. It didn't have to be.
Like you said, Bcom, there's no reason they couldn't have found this out from Crone, who would have known this.
Exactly. That's why I was just like, come on, this is insanity. Why are we doing this? But anyway, it was funny. I laughed.
I love the dramatic reveal too. They spent so much time on fetus memories. They really did.
So anyways, Isabella then announces that Norman will be leaving that night just before dinner. Then there's just like a couple random scenes of everybody just like doing stuff, like reading or the dishes, or just really weird, where it finally ends with Norman, who opens his drawer and finds a pen and a letter inside. Yeah. Mysteriously. That's what it was, right?
Yeah.
Because it just dropped, this episode at least just drops it there. And the next day, Norman makes his escape by tying the new rope to a tree and running up the wall like he is from Attack on Titan. I was looking at that, I'm like, did physics stop working in this world?
It was so, I don't understand how even tying the rope to a tree behind him would help him at all.
I don't.
It doesn't make any sense.
I can't explain it. It doesn't make any sense.
If there was a tree above the wall, that would help, but behind him? That makes no sense.
I don't know what's the difference between that and not having the rope.
I don't either, because you would just fall back. The rope would have slack, and you would. I don't get it.
Yeah, and then he's at the top, and he's looking out, but you don't get to see what it is yet, and he's just kind of looking out with this slightest of a smile on his face.
Yeah.
And then back at the house, Isabella notices Norman is missing and opens her little tracking device, and it's just this long, tense moment of her looking at it, and the others looking at her like, oh, did he do it? Did he do it? And then she just smiles and turns and says, "Welcome back, Norman." Yeah. Who's just walking up to them.
With his weird hips.
No, with the eye. You know what I noticed about this is his
really
eyes.
Haunted look in his eyes, yes.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
But really haunted look in his eyes. And then back inside.
You're getting some latent tendencies coming to the floor here. He's like, I noticed those sexy hips swaying.
And then everybody gets back inside, and then Ray, of course, demands an answer. Like, what the fuck are you doing here? And then Norman they're just so much funny moments. It's like, you guys are being over dramatic, where he dramatically walks to the other side of the room, and then he tells them.
He had to pose 6 times before he would say it. He had so many opportunities, and then he'd walk across again and stand in a dramatic way and then pause, and then he'd walk across the room again and stand with his back to them, and finally he said it, and I was like, God.
He's like, there's a cliff on the other side, and then it cuts to a shot
2 seconds
of him on top of the wall, and there's literally just this huge drop off and expanse that there's no way to get across, and then the rest of the forest, and that's how the episode ends.
They can get around this. They could just throw something on the other side, like a lasso, and lasso it to one of those trees. And
I don't know. It looked fucking huge.
I mean, they can figure it out. They're smart. I don't know. There's a ways to get around this. I just don't know if they're going to get around it.
My first thought was, he's up on the wall. Let's go ahead and run down the wall and see if this is 100% around the whole place.
Yeah.
Probably is, but let's, pursue our options here.
That is a good idea. That would have been a good idea. Although I guess eventually someone might notice you running on the top. I'm not sure. Yeah. But...
Well, that's why they don't have security, because they know they can't get out. So they probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
So all I've been thinking, well, didn't they say like the base was like full, like swarming with adults and stuff too?
Lots of adults and demons, yeah.
Yeah, so that was interesting information.
I think the best way for them to get out would be the base, because no one would be expecting it.
Probably, but they would need like different clothes or something. Probably, I don't know. Okay, so for the past 5 minutes, I've just been laughing at my own joke inside my head. You know that Fall Out Boy song, "Thanks for the Memories"?
Oh yeah.
I'm calling this episode "Thanks Fetus Memories."
Oh god. Oh no!
And like I'm gonna spell it in that stupid Fall Out Boy way, where there's like no, vowels in the words. It's the best. Oh, I'm so excited about this.
Oh man!
I've just been singing the song in my head, like I got those memories when I was a fetus.
All right, we need to take a break
this whole time.
and compose ourselves.
I think
Jesus
Bcom
Christ
needs to snap back to reality.
Oh, there goes gravity. We'll talk to you
go.
in a little bit.
All right.
And,
Be right back.
and we're going to break, guys. We'll see you in a bit.
Okay.
The Trash Pandas bring you this nugget from another trash can. What happens when Brains and Bullets discuss episode 2 of One Punch Man?
Pretty much gene splicing heads. They will
Yep.
they will splice genes. They have a cyborg gorilla. They have frog that walks on 2 legs and communicates at long range. Like they got. You think it? They splice.
The Lion King.
Yeah, they have the lion. They have a f***ing lion, beast king, and
Simba.
yeah, he's f***ing Simba. I don't mean he's f***ing Simba. I mean he's f***ing Simba.
We at Trash Pandas Watch Anime dig through the trash so you don't have to. You can find the Trash Pandas Watch Anime podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, where you'll get live updates from what we do.
Hey, do you like wrestling?
Whether it be in a bar, an arena, some weird place in Asia, or in a stadium?
Or the occasional penisplex?
Well, if any of these things might tickle your fancy, anywhere in between from penises to wrestling, you can come and check out our podcast.
Our podcast name is Smack It Down. We talk all things WWE, New Japan, anything else in between.
I'm Jay Silver.
I'm Corey Gold.
And we look forward to you joining us.
Happy Rusev Day.
Happy Rusev Day indeed.
Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
Back again.
Guess who's back?
Dora's back
Back
with the
again.
Dora the Explorer live action
Guess
movie.
who's back? Oh shit.
Which, like, I don't know. I don't like it. That's all I have to say. I just know that's going to trigger certain people who listen to this podcast. So I'm just saying it for them.
Stop it, you dumb cat. Don't sit on me.
Oh, Cat got triggered. Cat loves Dora the Explorer.
At least he did it after the clap.
At least he did it after the clap. That's true. Maybe he's learning. Maybe he's like, oh, I have to wait until after she does the thing that scares me.
Maybe your
Yeah, I
cat's
hope
your
you
stand.
enjoyed that at the end of a couple podcasts ago. Put in a little snippet there of Cat just getting mauled by her cat and screaming into the microphone. It was pretty great.
Which episode was that?
I think that was 83. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
it's around there anyway. It's one of those. So, Kat, tell us about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this episode gave us one of the most amazing memes ever.
Oh, one
Really
thing.
gets-
We skipped the week 21 and a half recap episode.
No one needs that shit.
Yeah,
I don't
so-
know. It's just an excuse for them to have more time, like
Which
to
is
give them
fine.
a break.
Like,
I
yeah,
get
it's
it.
all right.
It's hard. But like we don't need to cover that bullshit. So
Yeah.
like
From
okay,
22 now.
They all start out on the boat. They're setting off,
I'm on a boat.
and then
I got my swim trunks and my flippy floppies.
On a boat. That's like another song. Isn't that like
from
Lonely Island?
many
Lonely
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on a boat. I got my swim trunks and my flippy floppies.
It's very clear from this episode we all stopped listening to music in like 2011 or something.
We all peaked. That's when we all peaked. So Mista's bullets get really hungry, and it reminds me of like, you know, when you see the like single dad in a group, then like everyone's got their kids, and the single dad and the kids are like, and the dad just looks so overwhelmed and like just he's staring off into the distance like, why has my life become this? Like that's what he looks
Sex
like.
Pistols, yeah.
Yeah. And they're all like, we're hungry, we want to eat. Meh. And so he's like, guys, we gotta stop or they'll kill us all. And so they go to this restaurant, and then while they're traveling to the restaurant, they play the new OP. And I didn't like it. Like, the visuals are good, but the song is not great.
You have written in the notes that the bullets are vegetarians, but I thought I saw them eating like meat, like capicola or something.
No, but they have a whole conversation about like, oh, so they're vegetarians? And he's like, yeah, they won't eat meat. And then they're like,
but the bullets were eating meat. I thought it was somebody else that wasn't eating. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I don't know, because I thought that too, but then I was thinking like, well, maybe that stuff isn't actually meat. Maybe it's something else.
I don't remember exactly what happened or what that was
whole conversation about vegetarianism was really dumb. I was like, JoJo, why are you doing this?
They spent way too fucking long on that conversation too, because they like went on and on about milk, and then they were talking about honey or something, and I'm like, do so Japanese people not understand the idea of vegetarianism?
I don't think they do. Or at least the guy who writes JoJo doesn't.
Okay, I was like, we need to focus. And then at that moment, Narancia spills wine on this Yakuza suit, and the guy like starts yelling. He's like, Bakiaro! And he's like, oh, who's gonna pay for this suit? And he's doing the whole Yakuza thing where he's like, you're gonna pay with your life, and you know, doing all the shit I like. And Narancia's all like, you must be an enemy, and like starts freaking out and like whooping his ass so fucking bad. And Hins starts the meme that is one of the best memes, in my opinion, of this year, at least in the anime community.
Yeah.
Where, like, Mista and Narancia are just whooping him, and they're just like, oh, and they're, like, kicking the shit out of him. And, like...
It was pretty funny.
Oh, my God, it's so great.
I think my favorite part of that is, like, Abakio is just, like, sitting there sipping his wine and looking at them.
Yeah, Abakio's just like, okay, and like appreciating the scene, and then he's like, all right, I'm gonna get up and help. And he's like,
it cuts to him like kicking this guy in the face, like, oh my god.
I think my favorite of the memes was like sub fans, dub fans, and then Abakio is like highlighted with like manga fans, and then like live action adaptation is what they're all beating up on. I'm like, Leo would especially appreciate this.
Wow.
But yeah, no, there's like a billion different memes of that. I don't know if you guys have seen.
I haven't seen any others besides like the ones you linked, but I'll keep an eye out.
There are so many. I kept coming across them like everywhere.
Yeah, usually my feed blows up with that stuff, and I didn't really know about it until you posted something, so I don't know what's going on with that.
Huh? Maybe it's just I am in a lot of
questionable.
Maybe questionable. Maybe. Maybe anime groups that would appreciate JoJo more than others. But yeah, so I loved that. Eventually they stop because the guy's unconscious, and they're just like, oh, I guess he was a normal guy. Aw. And then one of them points out that in order to defeat the boss, I think it's Bucciardi, points out that their best bet is to find out the true identity of the boss using Trish. And Narancia's like, no, we can't involve Trish. Poor Trish. It's so hard on her already. But then Trish just comes out of the turtle on her own accord and is like, oh, I already fucking know. Like, you're not going to scare me. You're not going to shock me. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, my mom said she met my dad in this place called Sardinia. When she was Sardinia or whatever the fuck. Say it in your Italian voice, Bcom. Go ahead.
Sardinia.
No. You have to do the.
Wow, yeah. This is racist.
No, it's not racist because you're Italian.
It's like, say it in your Japanese voice, cat.
What the hell?
Uh-oh, one of the animals is on the loose.
Was that the cat?
He like knocked over the whole tower of my old desktop.
Wow. How?
Did you not hear that like bump 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 bump?
No, but I will on the recording. Apparently your cat thinks you're racist, and I agree.
Okay, well, I still demand you say it. Say it.
Sardinia.
There you go. That's what I
think the word you were looking for was accent.
I feel used.
Oh my god. So she goes to that place while she's vacationing, and the guy's like, and she basically tells him like, hey, I'm pregnant, and like one day he's just like, I'm gonna be right back, and then he just disappears and never comes back.
I don't know if she told him she was pregnant, because I think he would have killed her.
Oh, well, maybe you're right.
I don't think they did.
He basically does the whole I'm going out for cigarettes thing on her.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. They finally give her a spine and turn this girl into a real character, which I appreciated. Because until this point, I was really fucking irritated with this. And then the shark incident starts.
Indeed. The squallow.
Which is one of the weirdest things. And there's been a lot of weird shit in this anime. This is weird. So the spoon that Narancia's soup is in just disappears. And Narancia's like, what? And I honestly feel like this is the perfect person to do this to. Because, like, Narancia is one of my favorite characters in this entire show. But I will even acknowledge that he's not the brightest tool in the shed.
No, really?
But to give it to him, like, he's 13 or something, right? Like, he's got time to get smarter, hopefully. But he's not very smart right now. So he's like, why's my spoon gone? I don't know. I'm giving him, like, a country accent, because I feel like he deserves it as the dumbest person in the group.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I get to say that as a hick. You know.
You're not a hick. I've met hicks.
Well.
Wow, hick gatekeeping going on right now.
Oh, gatekeeping? I get to say who's a hick and who's not a hick.
We ain't even got no gate where we come from.
Look, my father's side of the family being from Kentucky with the heavy hick accent, I can tell you what a hick is or not, okay?
Oh. Anyway.
Y'all.
Uh-huh. Anyway, so I'm not gonna fight you on this, Leo.
Dude, I literally have an uncle that talks like this. And I remember being younger and having my mind blown, and my dad able to have a conversation with him.
Oh, God.
That's amazing.
That is a honest to God true memory I have.
I have a lot of family in Kansas who I'm ashamed to speak to, Leo. And I will not speak of the way that they speak. Anyway.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
No.
I've definitely been told that many a times.
Oh, man. So Narancia is kind of like, I need another spoon because my spoon disappeared for some reason. And he goes to get another spoon. And then he, like, kind of is, like, digging around in the soup with the new spoon. And he, like, fishes out this piece of old spoon that's just all bitten into and shit. And he's like, what? What's happening? And then there's, like, a shark fin, like, in his fucking soup.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a stand.
Like, what? And then, like, he looks again, and it's, like, in his spoon. And then it bites off his tongue.
Yikes.
And he, like, starts bleeding, like, profusely. And there's, like, a lot of time in between all these things. And so, at this point, Giorno's like, oh, we need to help him. I'm going to use my ability to give you a new tongue, but it's going to take some time. And, like, you're going to suffocate in the meantime. So, in the meantime, they trach him, basically.
Yeah. Stab a fucking hole in his neck.
Yeah, so like I've heard before from other people that the whole trach using a straw thing wouldn't work in real life. Is that true, Leo?
It depends on where it's lodged and what's lodging the throat and where, but yeah, it's actually a real thing.
Okay, because like I've heard from some people that it's kind of like bullshit that they use to be dramatic. I don't know.
Seems like risky and not something a non-medical professional should try.
Yeah, definitely not
Yes.
non-medical. Now, I actually do work with a guy who has a prominent scar because of that.
Wow.
Where they had to have him, I think they had to do a surgery with him, and because of whatever it was, they had to have a temporary breathing tube there.
Damn.
So, I mean, it's literally a thing, but like you said, Bcom, you want to be like a literal medical professional. Otherwise, you're probably not going to stab it in just right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they like kind of drift over to the rooftop, and there's these two guys like posing, and you find out these are the two guys that are attacking Narancia and the gang. And my first thought was, that blonde guy is fucking hot. Like one of them is this long-haired blonde dude. He's fucking hot.
What was
I'm
it?
That's
sorry.
Tiziano. Tiziano, that's the Italian name for the Venetian painter Titian, Titian. So that's
hot
who
as
he's
shit.
named after. Yeah, he is pretty hot. They're also
Yeah.
like super gay.
Okay, I couldn't tell. I'm like, are they gay or are they like creepy, touchy brothers?
I think
Or
they're
are they
like
both?
JoJo gay, which is different from actual gay.
Yeah, because I could totally, I would not have been shocked if in the next instant they're like the such and such brothers or something. Because you know how anime is sometimes, where they're
like glam rock gay.
Yeah, glam rock. That's a good way to put it.
The other guy's name's Squalo, which in Italian means shark, which obviously makes a lot of
makes
sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, his stand in JoJo's called The Clash, after the band The Clash, but in the Crunchyroll subs they call it The Crush or something. And Tiziano's stand is called The Talking Heads, which I think they call The Talking Mouths in Crunchyroll subs.
Yeah, I still hate that. I understand the copyright thing, but I still hate it.
It sucks. Yeah.
But yeah, and then so basically the hot dude's like stand is to get people to say the opposite of what they're trying to say. It's like they can control their tongue, I guess. So after they fix his tongue, he just keeps trying to tell them like about what happened to him and what's going on, and he can't. He just keeps telling them the opposite and like things that are beneficial to the attacking parties. So he keeps being like trying to tell them it's in the water, but like instead telling them to go into the water, and like trying to tell them it's in the sea because they're like, maybe we should get in this boat, which would obviously be a terrible
the worst
idea.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and instead he's like, oh, maybe it's in the bathroom, and he's so fucked. I don't understand why they can't see how fucked up Narancia is, because he's doing all these things.
Frustrated.
Yeah, it like
that make no sense.
they
was so
cannot
frustrated.
see that shark stand for whatever reason.
But like they also
I
couldn't.
know.
But like Narancia's acting like he's dying the whole time, and Mista's like, "What do you mean? Like, why do you keep saying things that are weird?" It's just like Mista, like none of you have any brain cells between you. I hate all of you right now. Like, you should be able to tell this is
If you see
weird.
someone in your party, I mean, granted that Narancia is like a little weird and a little stupid.
Yeah.
But like, if you see someone who's acting just completely insane, just suddenly, you should probably look into it. You should probably think about it a little bit. And the only one who even tries like a tiny bit is Giorno.
At the end, yeah.
At the very end.
Oh, I was like checking out
know.
of the episode at a certain point because I couldn't.
It was
I had
just
it up
so
to here
bizarre
with
because
Mista.
like the shark thing just keeps showing up, and like no one can apparently see it except Narancia, and like he just keeps freaking out, and everyone else is just like, "Whoa, we don't see anything. What's happening?" And I'm just like, "Oh my god!"
I think they just
and it
think
was just so weird.
Narancia is just they think Narancia is just being normal Narancia, so they don't think much about it.
Well, but he's never that insane. I don't know.
I don't know. He
At
was on
one
the
point-
boat that one time.
I guess. At one point, that was like amazing. You have to admit that thing on the boat, like with them dancing and that was just amazing. Like, Oh my god. So anyway, at one point, this is the point of the episode where I was like, I'm almost done with this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm almost checked out. He's like crying, and like the shark goes into the tears on his fucking face.
Which are like streaming down his face, which you could tell is a manga panel, obviously.
I know. And I was just like, come on. And there's like a point where he like tells everyone to go look in the toilet, and then he starts peeing into the toilet, and he's yelling at everyone to look, and I'm just like, what purpose does this serve? I don't know.
Because the other guy's stand can make him, it overtook his tongue, so he's saying opposite of what he wants to say. So to keep them from getting near the water, he pees in it.
I get it, but it's just weird.
It's weird.
It's too much. So at one point, Narancia, like, his tongue, this is also so fucking bizarre. So his tongue, who they have control over.
I love how you're freaking out about this, but like my only one note about this was at least the stands make sense after that last episode I did. And
so
you're
weird.
focusing on it so much.
It is weird, though.
His tongue, like, slashes his hands. Like he's an emo suddenly. So, like, from the outside, since they can't see, apparently, his tongue losing control of itself and taking a razor blade or whatever and slashing him, doesn't this look to them like he's become, like, an emo hipster and is, like, cutting himself or something? Because suddenly it's just his, I don't know. So, like, he's bleeding profusely. Narancia's like, if any of them come close to me at this moment, they're gonna get attacked. So he tries to burn himself to stop the bleeding instead, so that Giorno doesn't like get attacked, because Giorno tries to come over. Giorno comes over anyway, but at least Narancia's like, okay, I'm not bleeding, you should be safe. Then he realizes there's a water like leaking from this pipe on the wall, and he's like, no! And Giorno is attacked. And that's the end of this episode. But I'm just like, they spent so long on, like, bizarre shark things. I don't know.
It's just typical JoJo insanity.
It was entertaining, but also just really fucking weird. I was like, come on, we gotta stop with this now.
So, did you guys see the new OP and the new ED with this episode?
Didn't like them.
I also did not like them. The ED especially, because it's just like a panning shot moving up. Like, the song was whatever, and the ED was just really boring visually. But the OP, like, I can understand why some people really like it aesthetically, and also apparently it's really cool if you know the stands that are to come up, like, because they always hide, like, hidden hints about the stands that are to come up in that part. But, like, the song is just okay, and, like, I really felt they needed more in-between frames of animation in a lot of parts of it, where there's, like, these twisting, like, zooming shots that, like, don't have enough frames of animation in between to make them look smooth in a way that's, like, appealing to me.
I was a lot more disappointed with the music. Where's my crazy, awesome song that the creator chose again?
I thought the song was okay for the OP. For the ED, I don't know. Like, that was
ED specifically.
Yeah, it was not great.
Yeah, I already said I didn't like it. It wasn't great.
I don't know. Do they when they do longer seasons like this, do they usually license more than one cool song like that for the ED though? Or is this like, or they usually just make like one of the songs themselves? Because I don't know if this song was licensed or not. I didn't recognize it.
I didn't recognize them. Yeah, that was the thing.
Yeah. But anyway, a little letdown there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, Domestic Girlfriend, episode 9. Don't say that, please. So, the older sis is still moving out. And Hina basically says, like, hey, come over sometime.
Oh,
I'm going to give you a key.
I want to say, before you go into it, this is the episode I have been waiting for since you guys decided we were going to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a turning point for me. When I was watching this, that was like
or when you were reading it, you mean?
When I started reading it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is hitting a point of such fucking debauchery. I can't stand it. And then it made me remember what I specifically stopped reading it for, but that's later on, so I can't talk about this. But this is like the start of just like, this is like the worst of the worst. It's so bad.
Oh my god. So Rui is like, I'm so sad. I'm moping around the house because she's like, oh, I saw like Hina holding hands with him yesterday, and I just don't like it. And then Tachibana sees Rui sees the guy like who the older sister had an affair with. I guess his name is Shu, whatever the fuck.
And
asshole guy.
Of course, he is friends with a rape teacher.
Kyria, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like these guys go together
Birds
well.
of a feather flock together.
Yeah. I thought this whole exchange was so weird. So like, she meets them both in this bookstore. He comes out and is like, listen, I haven't talked to your sister since then. In front of his upperclassmen. You would never want to talk about anything like that in front of him. You wouldn't want anyone to know about that shit. And they all go into the cafe. He invites her. And then they have this very secret conversation. Just the three of them. It's really none of the third guy's business. Why is he having this conversation in front of him with Rui?
Yeah, it's... The only part of it I liked is that she ordered like a $50 parfait.
Yeah, it was huge.
Made him pay for it. And
There's
on top
no
of the parfait was a tomato. And I was like, Leo must be freaking out. There's a giant tomato. I don't know if it's like a pastry tomato. I think it's an actual tomato on top of this parfait.
All of the ice cream.
Who puts
I was like,
any
ice cream.
vegetable in a parfait?
It was the weirdest thing. And I was like, I wonder if Leo will notice.
Maybe it's
this.
like a ginormous cherry.
You know what I actually have had? Speaking of ice cream and tomatoes, I've had tomato ice cream.
Ooh,
disgusting.
That's weird.
At the state fair one year, they had tomato ice cream.
Of course, it's at the state fair.
Tomato soup ice cream?
No, it's like tomato ice cream. It was good.
I feel like state fairs are like probably responsible for like almost all new food experimentation ideas in the world.
Well, now that we don't do the World Fair anymore. Yeah. But yeah, so that happens, and I was just, the whole time that conversation was going down, I was just like, why are you discussing this right now? Why are you discussing it in front of him?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, I got divorced, yeah, and like, I want to be with her. I want to be with Hina, but like, I feel like it would be selfish of me, you know, but really what you find out in the course of this conversation is like, he feels prideful and embarrassed to ask her first, which is such a typical dude thing. Guys are such idiots.
No, if you love her, let her go, and then she'll come back to you if it's meant to be.
No, fuck that. Like, chase her or she's gone. Anyway, but yeah, also, I'm not sure why this dude is trying to make Rui feel better.
Yeah, me neither.
It's weird. Then, yeah, Rui goes home and begs Hina not to move out, and, like, okay, so there comes this point where I thought that what was going to happen is that, because Hina was like, all right, you do what you want to do, and I'll do what I want to do. And I thought what she was trying to say was like, I'll stay, and you can hit on him. And I'll hit on him, and we'll just agree not to be angry at each other. I thought that was what she was saying, and I was like, no! But no, she's just basically tacitly avoiding this thing that Ruri is asking her, and is going to move out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, Hina gives the bro a key, and you're like, oh yeah, she wants to fuck him. And
yeah, so this was like her whole plan then. And he's like, I'm being tested right now. And it's like, nah, she just wants you to come over and fuck, dude. Like, that's all.
Well, I mean, she kind of does, but she kind of doesn't. Like, she's kind of, yeah, we'll see in a minute.
Yeah.
And then Rui, like, uses this moment. He's in the empty room that Hina has just moved out of. And Rui comes in and is like, oh, let me hit on you again. And he gives her all the, like, family excuses. Like, he keeps emphasizing, like, you are my sister, and we live in this house together. The four of us.
The way I thought about it is, like, instead of friend zoning her, he, like, brother zoned her, which is, like, I can't believe that's a term I needed to come up with to explain this. But that's what he did.
So he's trying really hard to be like, I'm going after Hina, not the other one. I'm going after Hina.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, like, you got a perfectly good meal in front of you. Like, why are you chasing after this over here? But okay. So he goes over to Hina's place. He's on a mission, a dick mission. It's dick o'clock. So it totally is.
It is. She's asleep.
And she's fucking asleep. And she wakes up and I'm so surprised. And I'm like, yeah, fucking right. You knew he's coming over here. Come on.
Gave him a fucking key.
I know. And then he's like, Sensei, I came here prepared. And I like expected him to pull like a huge thing of condoms out of his bag. But instead he goes on to this stupid rant about how like he's prepared to die and all this bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, come on. Like, just pull the condoms out. That's what you mean. And like, they get hot and heavy on the bed for a second, and it's going down.
Don't really like. So they kiss, right? But the way they kiss,
heavy a little.
Yeah,
bit,
they kiss like dead fish. Like she just lays there. He presses his lips against hers, and they just stay perfectly still. Like, and then they do it again.
The idea is that she's not into it. Like she's not really into it. She's not wanting to fuck right now, and he's like, I don't want to fuck right now. And she's like doing that thing that girls do sometimes where they're like, I don't want to be mean to you, but I'm not into it right now. And like,
but I think it's also like this thing where two people like who, especially like a high school kid who's like, this is like sort of his first real love, is like holding love like and kissing on like such a high pedestal that he's like, this must be like the most perfect serene kiss ever. And it's like, oh, come on, come on, dude, like just kiss the girl, like get into it, like come on, enjoy yourself.
Yeah, this is where I remember in the manga finally just being like, you guys have gone too far, because they start dating.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a little weird.
And Hina kind of does it kind of out of nowhere. I don't remember a moment where she was like, all right, I'm going to give it a try with him.
I guess it was at that festival, basically, where she realized that she needed to stop acting like she didn't want it.
To me, it felt like it just kind of happened, and I'm just like, this. I was like, this amount of garbage it's not enjoyable at this point. It's fucking garbage. But you know, I stuck with it. Maybe it will go back to the old garbage. It gets worse.
Old garbage.
It gets worse.
I know. I've seen clips. I'm there for it. Anyways, so she gives him the whole like, we don't have to rush into things bullshit at the last second, and it's basically like, I don't want to fuck you yet. And I don't understand why she's getting cold feet. I mean, I'm proud of her because she shouldn't be fucking like a 17-year-old, but at the same time, I'm like, you already did all this. You gave him the key. You did this and that. Like, what's going on? And like, she makes him coffee, and I just remember pausing at this like moment of him like trying to drink the coffee, and I've never seen a man look so fucking sad trying to drink coffee. Oh, he looked so fucking sad. He looked like he'd just been told his puppy died. Mm-hmm. Like, it was... I encourage you all to pause and, like, replay that moment where he's drinking the coffee and just laugh.
I have a question. Are you guys watching this show at regular speed? Because I'm watching it 2 times speed.
Oh, absolutely regular speed. Sometimes I slow it down. No, I'm joking. No, I don't do that.
I was like, there's something so wrong with you.
Oh, man. And then she does this, like, line a couple times in this episode where she's like, our time together is just starting. And I'm like, don't say bullshit like that. Come on. I don't know. And then later on in the episode, Rui and the brother run into the foreigner. And it's like, it's hilarious how he's trying so hard to get Rui and this foreigner together.
Yeah.
And like, considering how much Rui just really wants to fuck him, not this foreigner dude, it's really odd because most girls in Japan want to fuck foreigner guys, especially blonde foreigner guys.
Why do you know this?
I mean, I know a lot of things about Japan. So it's just weird.
So you're saying Bcom and I need to go to Japan?
Well, I'm not blonde.
It is a thing. Like, I think they, like, you know how there's like that really crude term in the US where people are like, and this is really crude, but people will be like, you got yellow fever or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like the reverse there. Like people go kind of crazy because they're like, ooh, it's exotic. We don't see a lot of people with blonde hair, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole thing. So if you want to be fetishized, go to Japan. Anyway, so Natsuo asks Hina about sex later, and he's like so fucking obvious and obnoxious about it.
He's like, I think I'm ready, but maybe you're not. And he's telling this to her, who's like an adult. Like, well, allegedly.
He like comes to her like he's asking her a question, a class question, like teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, dude, first of all, this is not the way you would ask your girlfriend about this. Mm-hmm. You would not ambush her like this.
She just came out of the bathroom.
Yeah. Second of all, you're in school. You should not be talking about this period at school. You should really be avoiding each other at school if you're doing this.
Let alone physical contact, for God's
sake.
Yeah.
And then she fucking kisses him at the end of this conversation.
Yeah, they just like saw the vice principal walk by him, and I was like, at that point, I was like, she's gonna fucking lose her job if this shit keeps up. Like, and holy shit, they're in so much trouble.
I was like, why are you kissing him? Why would you do that?
Oh my God.
It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I understand like, ooh, taboo relationship, but like don't be such a fucking idiot as I don't know. So that's the end of that episode. We'll see how she loses her job because it'll probably happen, right?
The one funny thing that happened early in the episode we didn't talk about is Rui goes to a bookstore and she just looks at this pile of books, and one of them just has the title Sisters, a tale of discord between sisters that slowly eats away at their peaceful family ties. Over 100,000 copies sold. She kind of like looks at it and like frowns and like keeps moving.
I did see that.
It was on
like,
the nose.
Dumb.
Oh, I've got a question for you, Cap. Who deserves to lose their job more? Hina for kissing one of her students, or the teacher from Yuru camp, the drunk teacher?
Hina, I would say 100%.
I don't know. Okay, so he's 17, right?
Yeah, he's a minor.
But
not
he's 17.
In Japan.
Well, it depends on the prefecture.
I think the drunk teacher deserves to lose her job more because he is technically an adult in Japan, especially like. Legally, he can have sex. So as long as she left him alone at school, I don't think I would have a moral issue with it.
But he's her student at school, so it doesn't matter if she leaves him alone at school.
Yeah, but the other teacher is potentially endangering multiple students.
Yeah.
She's like, just drunk. Who cares?
I have less of an... If he was like 15, I would be like, no, that's bullshit. But he's 17...
But how is she endangering them? They're just camping.
Okay. Do you know how many things could happen? They could set the forest on. Let me tell you a story, Bcom.
Well, then that would be their fault if they set the forest on fire.
She also tried to give them alcohol at one point, too.
Yes. Let me tell you a story about how my aunt and a couple of my aunt's friends' children who she took camping, how that happened. So she fell asleep, slightly drunk, left them alone, and these two boys tried to start a fire and didn't work out well. Ended up setting the forest on fire.
How is that her fault? Like, I know she's the supervisor, but these kids need to take some personal responsibility. Yeah, well, they need to take some personal responsibility for the fact that they're fucking idiots.
That's not the way it works. She was held responsible for that shit. It was terrible.
I know they saw that fucking commercial. Only you can prevent forest fires. Probably like 1,000 times when they were kids, because I saw it 1,000 times.
But that's what can happen if you don't supervise kids in the forest. Not only could they get kidnapped, they could die. They could fall off the side of a cliff. God knows what else could happen. They could also set the fucking forest on fire and kill God knows how many people and destroy how much property.
Fine, but I still think Hina's doing more fucked up
I'm sorry,
shit.
Listeners. It was just a simple question. I didn't know it was going to
It's a very complex question, obviously.
know it was going to turn into a debate between Kat and Bcom.
Let's move on to lighter things and Kaguya-sama, please. Which actually, I really liked this episode because it was like all connected. I liked that a lot instead of like short
it was
skits.
good. So at the beginning of this Kaguya episode, there's like a thunderstorm. And I learned, apparently in Japan, there is a old nursery tale that in electrical storms, that if you don't protect your belly button, it could be stolen away.
Oh, so that's what that was about?
I was going to say,
Yes.
that's what that was about? Okay.
Huh.
So in Japan, kids believe until they're kind of older that like you have to protect your belly button when there's a thunderstorm outside because like the thunderstorm could come and steal it away.
What's the purpose of telling children this, though?
I don't know. I don't know if it's so they're not afraid of the thunderstorm and they're just focused on their belly
She's
button.
afraid of it because of that.
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Why do we tell children that a fat man is going to come down their chimney? I don't know.
So they behave well. Yeah, there's a
Maybe
reason
this
behind
is
that.
so they behave well. Maybe it's so they shut their fucking
How?
mouths.
Explain it
and
to
they
me
put
how.
their hands over their belly and they don't whine and they just stare at their stomach in fear. And instead of making noise, they're staring at their stomach in fear. Maybe
Okay.
that's what it is.
I mean,
Oh my God.
that's plausible.
Let's move on.
Oh, God. So anyway, that's what that was about. And then, so like the trains are stopped due to the storm, and so Miyuki can't go home, and his family doesn't have a car because he's fucking poor. And so Kaguya almost offers him a ride, but then is like, "Oh, that would be a date. I can't ask him on a date." And then it becomes this dramatic thing in her mind, and she's like, "I'm gonna make him ask me on a date," and it's just like, why can't we get over this?
Is this why nobody in Japan's fucking? Because everybody's playing this exact fucking game.
I hope
Maybe.
not.
maybe that we need to like do an intervention show, like an intervention live action show where you just have these really obnoxious American foreigners go to Japan and just take two people who love each other and all their friends know it, and we like get them in a room and we just make them admit that they love each other, and we're like, admit it.
Is this the new reality series you're pitching
it is.
here?
It's a new reality. And then by the end, they're just so terrified by all the shit we're putting them through. They're like, okay, we like each other. And we're like, ding, ding, ding. And like confetti goes over their head and they're like shaking on the floor, clinging onto each other.
And we've also
Nice.
booked you a one-night room in this hotel.
Exactly. Shock therapy to deal with Japan's childlessness.
Nice.
Anyway. But yeah, so at this point, Kaguya puts her hands over Chika's head because Chika begs her to like block out the thunderstorm noise while she protects her stomach with her hands. And then she's worrying so fucking much about Miyuki in this situation that she almost like pops Chika's head like a balloon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chika's like, why? Why me? And like, I don't know. It's weird. And then Chika almost offers to help Miyuki home in her car, but Kaguya's just like, you fucking won't! And like just scares the shit out of her and makes her leave. And then, I don't know, she makes a snide comment where she's like, oh, what will happen if you don't get to work? You would be disqualified as a member of society if you couldn't get to work due to something like this. And I was just thinking, that's such a fucking Japanese way of thinking, that like you're disqualified as a member of society if you can't go to work due to something completely out of your control.
Like a literal act of God keeping you from going to work.
Like,
but
you should be ashamed. Like, no. But Miyuki looks really stressed, and it's really kind of unfair at this point that Kaguya is continuing to do this. And he goes to the bathroom to like have a mini crisis. And in that time, Kaguya sees that the trains are running again on her phone, and is like, I will not let this ruin my plan. And she like dramatically puts a dead battery in his phone in like a minute.
The thing is, she already had like this situation set in place, so she knew she had like the dead battery already there. She had the hairdryer to like break the case apart. Like, this was predetermined on her part, so it's just
This
like
is kind of insanity.
It is. I don't know.
It was
And then
impressive
she
that she
just-
did it in 60 seconds, though.
Yeah, and so then she's like, well,
Gone
I'm
in 60
leaving
seconds.
then. Yeah, she's like, I'm leaving then, and like leaves and then stands outside waiting, like, he'll have no choice. And she like goes into her fantasy world where she's like, and he'll beg me on his knees and I'll let him into the car and it'll be great and I'll have the upper hand and all this bullshit in her head. And I'm just like, why do you keep doing this? And the maid is in the corner like, if this scheme works though, how am I gonna get home? And Kaguya's like, on foot. And the maid's just like, you're a demon. But then you find out she really called a cab for her. So.
Yeah, after the fact. But
Yeah.
like the maid's like, this is going to come back to haunt you one of these days. The karma.
Yeah, and then suddenly Miyuki comes through like fucking like a bat out of hell on his bike and like pedaling for all he's worth to get to work on time on his bike. Like, storm be damned, basically. And it completely splashes Kaguya, like, with water.
Oh, no.
I hate this stupid trope.
Oh, no. And
Can't
of
they
course,
think of anything else in anime? It's so
So-
annoying how often this pops
People
up.
can just get colds just fucking because.
yeah.
It doesn't
You know what can give people fucking colds? Their coworker coughing constantly for
Yeah.
hours and hours next to them, like happened to me today at work. That can cause a cold.
And
You
it's-
know what doesn't cause a cold? You know what has never in my fucking life caused me to get a cold? Getting
Getting rain.
splashed with fucking water.
or even cold water. It's not the cold or the water. It's actually has to do with the cold season where people stay inside more, where it tends to make mold grow more, and that's how people get fucking colds. It has nothing to do with like the cold temperature
this
itself.
is like almost like a way that probably people in Asia used to think of what
It's not just
caused
Asia.
disease.
It's here and basically everywhere. Yeah,
Well,
but
but, like,
because they misinterpreted
yeah.
it for being cold weather, so that's what they assumed. But it really
Yeah,
wasn't the
it's-
cold weather.
But you would think the way that they do this, though, and it's so pervasive, you would think that Asian people are just so fucking fragile. Like, all you would have to do is cup your hands and get water in your hands and just go up to someone and just, like, sploosh it on them. They're just deathly ill with, like, pneumonia, you know?
It's like the aliens from, damn it, what's the...
Signs.
Signs, thank you.
You can never think of the name. I always know. That movie's like ingrained in my head.
Yeah, I that and the amnesia thing, just like you guys need to eat more meat and get your iron levels up a little bit.
Yeah.
Come on,
I will
guys.
salute any anime from now on that has somebody get rained on, completely soaked, and be totally fine.
Exactly. we should just have a moment where we clap for any scene like that.
Gotta
'cause
keep
this is
our
just
eyes
getting
out for that.
ridiculous. But yeah, so Chika volunteers to go over to give Kaguya her papers, her work papers or whatever, because she's like, he's so cute when she's sick. You guys don't even know.
Oh, sigh.
And Yu is like terrified to go because he's like, I'm already weirdly sexually attracted to her. I can't afford to have this go any further. And of course, Miyuki really wants to go, but like doesn't want to admit that he really wants to go. And they decide by playing this card game, and Chika just cheats a fuck ton. Like, to make a long story short, I tried to follow some of this. Like, apparently she marked the top of the deck, but I couldn't.
It was
follow the details.
It was a marked deck on the back of the cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just really funny because she has like 3 different cheats and you calls her out on each one. He's like, you cheater, and like it just hits her really hard. And that's pretty much the joke.
Yeah. And then I don't know, at one point Yu makes this comment where he's like, analog gamers are dirty, and I thought that was cute.
I thought that was kind of like 4chan speak coming out of you, and I was like, that makes sense for him, I guess.
Yeah. And then at one point Miyuki is like, oh, she was waiting for me, and that's why she's sick. And I'm like, you do have brain cells in your head. Oh my god. And yeah.
So this is when she starts to act like a giant baby.
Exactly. And she looks like, when he goes over to her house, she looks like a 2-year-old child.
Mm-hmm.
In a bed.
Like
because this is what's attractive to Japanese men. This is also what Kat thinks is attractive to me. She says like, "Oh, you just want a girl with like 2 brain cells, literally a baby who can't take care of herself." Kat said this like 1,000 times on this podcast. But like this, like watching this, I was like, "This is what the writer of Kaguya-sama thinks that Japanese men want." Because like he presents this situation for Miyuki like it's like irresistible. It's like to go over, wipe her back, wipe my front.
I think it's more like a pure defenseless girl that they can take care of and swoop in and be the hero. I think that's kind of a part of it too.
Take advantage of is more like
that too.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it gets really awkward in a minute. Yeah.
But yeah, just I don't know. And then I just thought it was funny. He goes from having this fantasy about wiping her front down, basically wiping her bare tits off with a wet washcloth, to having a fantasy of like patting her head. And I'm like, what?
It's almost like an infantilization fantasy.
Huge power fantasy is what it is.
Yeah. That's
It's
like
dumb.
what most of anime are, to be honest.
Yeah, and then the maid at this point basically gives this guy permission to rape her. Basically, she's like, I'm gonna give you several hours alone in this room, the room that's soundproof. She won't remember anything at all.
Like, and I get that she's trying to just like force these two to fucking like make something happen, but this is totally the wrong way to set this up.
And she's like, and I
up.
definitely will never be back for 3 hours. It's just
Yeah,
like,
and
wow.
I'm like, is this Japan's, like, I don't know. It's just weird.
It's very weird.
That happens, and like, she does this monologue at one point, how she doesn't know any other way to be in love, blah, blah. And then she like grabs him and drags him into the bed, and he like stands there stiff and scared and sweats, but eventually falls asleep. And like later she wakes up better, and like he's asleep next to her, and she flips her shit, and it's like, ah! And he's like, ah! And like runs home, and it's like, but I didn't do anything. And the maid like inspects the sheets because she's like, surely they boned. And I'm just like, are you really looking at the sheets for like evidence? Because that's just disgusting.
Yeah, she's looking for blood from losing her virginity.
She's like, ooh,
it's obvious.
virginity.
We know what she's doing.
And I'm just like, come on. Like, yeah, it was not the greatest. The second part was not the part I liked, but it was okay.
Yeah. I liked in the hallway where we see that like the Shinomiya family like motto is written in like calligraphy, and it just says in like all caps, yes, if you are a Shinomiya, do not rely on anyone. Instead, use them. Do not receive anything. Instead, steal. Do not love anyone. There is no instead. I was just like, holy shit.
That was interesting, and I was just like, well, I guess that is why Kaguya is like that.
Pretty much. Damn. That's a pretty crazy mindset to come from.
Yeah.
But yeah, that last part of the episode was super weird and rapey. But whatever.
It was just odd.
Yeah. Should we move on to the last show of the day?
Yeah. Just do some Dororo and Dororo's flashback, really.
Yeah. Episode 9, The Story of the Mercilessness. Leo can't wait to reveal one big thing about this episode.
It's been driving me absolutely fucking crazy.
Leo wanted to reveal this thing last week, and I was like, no, we can't talk about it.
I would kill you. If you had done that, do you realize the level of whoop down?
I don't know why. We'll get to it. I don't know why. I think it's better, but we'll get to it.
So, okay. Hyakimaru can't stop sniffing things because he likes smelling things now. He takes a big whiff of Dororo, who like falls to the ground because they have a fever. Also, how many fevers were there this episode? We got Kaguya, we got Shindo and Run with the Wind, we got Dororo. Everybody's got a fever.
And they're passing.
That should be the name of this episode.
Also,
I thought about that too.
Think about fever.
How often?
I like Thanks Fetus Memories so much.
No. Fetus fever.
Wait, what about like Thanks Fever Memories? No, I don't know. No.
Also, one thing that's all of them have related is that they're passing out. How many people do you know who get fevers and pass out?
Yeah, that's pretty intense. I mean, that happens, but like not often. Like, does everybody in Japan have low blood pressure?
I personally do not know anybody having a fever and passing out from it. And
I don't know.
but it just seems like in, Japan land, you get a fever, you pass out at some point.
Well,
what?
if you pass out from a fever, you're at the point where you could actually get brain damage from that fever.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
It is the thing to pass out from a fever, but only if you're at the point where you
your
could
fever's
sustain
so
permanent
severe
damage.
that you see the effects oncoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just, whatever.
So Hyakimaru also knows some limited words. He's able to speak more than just Dororo because they come by this farmer, like a stranger, and he wants to get help, and he's just body hot, or something.
Yeah,
that's all he knows how to say basically. But the farmer doesn't have any medicine, so luckily this nun comes by from a nearby temple and comes across.
I thought this was interesting because, in this time period, Christians would have been hated in Japan. So I'm not really sure how there's a nun at this time.
Yeah, so was
history.
Did they give any indication that she was a Christian nun? And even in Amazon Prime, they called her character Nun, which I was surprised by.
Only other than her visual getup did it suggest that it was what type of religion it
Buddhist, was. Women who wore a thing on their
But she
head?
had a nun outfit.
That was
a
nun habit. So
it
I
did
think
look
Kat's
like a nun
right.
outfit to me.
I think Christianity sort of got introduced to Japan in as early as the 1400s. So I think it would have been around potentially, but it's kind of strange.
But she would have been really disliked. No one would have wanted to be around her.
Yeah, they could have probably made a more interesting deal about that. I'd like to know more about her. Maybe they will, but so yeah, they go to this temple and Dororo's having these visions of red spider lily flowers, which are called Maju Shage, which are a reminder of his mom and dad, as we'll see later. And then we go into this extended black and white flashback back when Dororo was little. Dororo's father, Hibukuro, was the leader of a band of brigands and thieves, but they lived by this specific code that they only attacked samurai. Of course, this unfortunately brought trouble from samurai, and they get their camp attacked, and they're just barely able to defend themselves. But they have to keep moving to stay safe. And even as a little kid, Dororo always wanted to fight. And one of Dororo's father's friends, another thief, Itachi, tells Dororo you can't just solely depend on your strength as you grow up. Dororo's scared by the blood on Dad's face when the fight against the samurai is over, and Dororo's mom Okia says he'll always be your father. And this was a parallel to how Dororo sees Hyakimaru losing his humanity at times. I think it's interesting that Dororo saw Dad lose this humanity in the same way almost. So Itachi thinks it's time for Hibukuro to start thinking about the future of their band, and he thinks the Lord will give him a decent position considering the strength they've built up. But Ochiya is against it because of their friends and family that have been killed by these same lords. She doesn't want to give in to them. And so Hibukuro sides with her and punches Itachi in the face and threatens to kill him if he keeps talking like this. And then, the very next scene, Itachi has led Hibukuro's men into an ambush against these samurai. He claims that they're exhausted from fighting, so it's the perfect time to attack, but they were just laying in wait for them. And so Itachi has clearly joined and made a deal with the samurai and the lord and tells Hibukuro he's an idiot for not doing the same. And so now they're hungry and wandering, and Dororo and parents go to a battlefield to try to find some food. And Dororo stumbles across a soldier eating another man and talks about how the battlefield is this hell, and Ochia's yeah, this might be worse than hell actually. And Dororo,
that was an interesting moment.
Yeah, it's just seeing the crazy things Dororo's seen in the past that have formed who they are. And Dororo's father says that the red spider lily flowers might be red because they're soaked with they've soaked up the blood from the battlefield.
I know, and then the mom is "Oh, don't scare them," and I'm they have already seen so much shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's the thing that's gonna scare them.
I wonder if this is the same idea. I know it's a fictional flower, but it's the same idea behind the flowers in the Promised Neverland. They're the same sickly red type of flowers.
There's actually a flower very similar that they keep referencing in some Naruto episodes.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That's the red flower.
Oh, I think you
some
mentioned that. Like
Yeah, some of them are white, and it just makes me. They're so similar. I almost wonder if it's based off of that flower.
Oh, I also want to say, yeah, that flower from the Promised Neverland it's kind of based off a real flower, also.
It might be this flower then, or a similar one.
It's the same one in Naruto, then. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like a running theme, which is interesting. I feel like I've seen it in a video game at some point too. Meanwhile,
it's really pretty.
It is
like
kind
the
of
way
pretty.
Yeah.
Of course, Cat likes the color of blood.
Well, it almost makes me want to look it up and be like, do they actually look like that? Because like the way the petals are pretty. I don't know.
Those flowers like really stand out against the black and white background. Like there's a lot of like red against black and white in this
definitely.
flashback, which is cool.
Yeah.
The Lord has ordered a village to be burnt down because it's an obstacle for the army, and nothing can stand in the army's way. And so, like the fire is like burning red against like the black and white background. And Hibukuro wants to fight them, but Ochiya tells him not to. But unfortunately, one random soldier recognizes Hibukuro from having like Hibukuro and the band of thieves like apparently raided his village in the past and killed everyone. And like so,
they didn't raid the
not
village.
The village. No,
they raided the soldier encampment. While
the samurai specifically.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was confused on that.
And you recognize him because of his huge pole arm.
Yeah, and he acts all outraged, like, "Oh, you killed my, friends," and I'm just like, "You literally are destroying a village right now."
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, he was sort of like a justice type renegade, and he just attacked like groups of
samurai. Yeah, that makes more sense, right?
Yeah, he didn't raid villages or anything like that.
So the soldiers all attack Hibukuro, and even though he takes like several of them out, like kind of cool too. Like at one point he throws his katana at like a spinning blade and it like cuts off two guys' legs at the ankles. I was like, damn.
My favorite part is where he's like, "This is how you use a spear."
Well, yeah,
but he gets the spear through him.
Yeah, he gets speared in the back by that guy before though, and then Dororo has to watch him die. And so that's sad. Man, Dororo's got a dark backstory.
Yeah.
And so, like we've heard about before.
That's not the worst of it, though, to me.
The
worst of it's yet to come.
Oh, interesting. So, Dororo and his mom, Ochiya, survive on their own for a while, but it's difficult. Like, a stranger tells Ochiya that the samurai are giving handouts at a nearby temple, so they head there. And unfortunately, it's Itachi who's, like, doing samurai recruiting there and stuff. Handing out food, and Dororo picks up a rock to throw at them, but Ochiya orders Dororo, like, don't throw that rock. But the thing that happens, like, the samurai are, like, running out of bowls and, like, or food, I guess, and Ochiya goes up to, like, the person who's ladling out this boiling soup and says, like, pour it directly into my hands. And so she has this boiling soup poured right into her hands, which burns them. And she just bears it and then goes over to Dororo to feed or to give them food. And
he just eats it like slowly out of her hands.
He wouldn't be able to eat it without burning himself in the process.
Yeah, to me, like, this would be the thing that fucks you up the most. Like, just watching your mother just get like 3rd-degree burns on her hands while she waits for you to slowly eat. And you're so fucking hungry that you do it and aren't like, no, drop it.
Right.
Like, that would fuck you up more, in my opinion.
Well, it explains why Dororo is so durable as they are now.
Yeah. And so Itachi also like kind of gloats about it. It's like, I can't believe you're in this position and all this shit. And Dororo throws a rock at them, which Itachi just catches and then kind of finishes the advice he was giving Dororo earlier. Like, you can't just rely on your strength. You have to be smart if you want to survive. And so I think Dororo's kind of embraced that at this, like, obviously. Ochiya, after this, collapses in a field of red spider lilies. And she begs Dororo to survive until the war someday ends. And so Dororo also watches his mother die. And back in the present, Dororo explains to the nun, like, that's why they haven't given up. And, like, the nun is basically overwhelmed and tells Hyakimaru, like, man, this must be so difficult for you, especially traveling with such a young girl. And it's like, wait, what?
Da da da!
So the reveal is Dororo is a girl.
So anti climactic. I have absolutely no idea why they held this back.
I think it's a pretty big reveal if like you just weren't catching on to it. Like, but now that I think back, like Dororo
what was
has
there
these like
before
pretty
this
eyelashes.
that would told you they were catching on to this? What?
Well, I don't know, like just Dororo's way of speaking, like they're voiced by a young girl character, which is interesting.
That's not unusual.
Young girl person, I mean. God.
That's not unusual for anime at all.
No. Well, it is like a young girl though. Like she's like 14 or something. That's sort of unusual. Like
it's usually a girl, but it's like an older woman.
Still
yeah,
female.
it's usually like a 20-year-old girl or something.
Like I immediately thought of the voice of Goku as like shooting you're saying now down just immediately.
Well,
just
she's
like,
an old woman.
Yes.
Goku was like an elderly woman.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is I don't know what this it's. I felt like it would have been so much better to have known this from the beginning. My first thought was when she found out Mio was a prostitute. Like when that scene happened, when she saw her as a prostitute, I thought Dororo was still a guy.
Yeah.
She's like, oh shit. And I was just like, oh yeah, oh shit, she's a prostitute. We kind of figured that out. But that scene's so different to me now because then now I see Dororo's reaction as like, oh shit, that could be me. Yeah. This is why I'm pretending to be a guy. I'm like, wow, that scene's 100 times better.
Yeah, I think she took that idea of like you have to be smart and was like a girl traveling alone.
Yeah,
no matter how young you are,
even in our first,
fucked.
Yeah, even in our first meeting of Dororo, where she's getting beat up by those guys, like you're like, oh, they're just beating up a young boy. That's fucked up, whatever. But they're like, oh shit, we know we're in on the secret. We know Dororo is actually a girl. But those guys think they're beating up a boy, so you're like kind of conflicted. You're like, this is, I thought it was fucked up in the first place, but it's extra fucked up now. Just like, holy crap!
If they knew she was a girl,
exactly, it would have been way worse.
Yeah,
which
so
is
like,
it makes
my
these
opinion,
scenes
it's smart.
Would have been way better if we were in on the secret. And like, I really think the show is hurting itself not telling this up until now, which was my big problem. And I found out, like you said, Bcom, last week because I saw like a ranking of the top female characters, and I was like, why is Dororo like in here? So of course I Googled it real quick, and I'm like my mind was blown. I'm like, this show is so much better if we are in on the secret. The world in the show is not, but we are. It makes things so much better, and I hate that they didn't do this. I hate it because I have to hold it against the show now. And
I don't know, Leo, because like, okay, think about the way that you think of the character. You would have had a completely different perception of that character as a whole if you had known before. Yes,
and I just explained that.
Well, but
why
like,
it's
I also
so different.
think it makes us see her as more of who she is, because I think she is a very like tomboyish character. Mm-hmm. Like, and I think they wanted to show you, like, she is strong and, like, she can do
in
all
the flashback,
these
they showed her being very tomboyish. She won the fight and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think her androgyny is highlighted by the fact that it took so long.
I feel like if they had led this, if this was episode 1, I would have liked this show a lot better.
It's possible.
I already love it, but I think I would have liked it better.
I think it had a point in why it was waiting. I think they were trying to highlight the androgyny of the character a lot more by waiting. So that it influenced your perception.
Okay. I would agree with you, but the reveal was just the flattest thing in the world.
Well, I
will
think
agree with that.
It's similar to how they revealed it in the original Kino's Journey, where you find out the true gender of that character or like the true sex of that character.
Yeah, like if you want to compare them, I think they're very vastly different. I think Kino's Journey had a way different effect than how this one did. But I think in both cases it's supposed to mean that like their sex doesn't really matter to the person that they are. It's they're operating in a totally different way in society because they're not accepting that role. I can't quite agree with that because of the age difference.
That is true, because like she may grow up and feel differently, but like she's lived as a guy all this time. I think she might
but
prefer
if
that at this
grows
point.
up looking like her mom, she can't hide this.
I mean, you You'd be surprised. You can hide a lot of
There
things.
are things you can do, but I think it would be particularly different for Dororo compared to Kino.
And like Hyakimaru has like no reaction, by the way. Like, he just,
Yeah,
like,
and
stands
that's
there
kind
like,
of the
what?
other thing.
Mario doesn't give a fuck. Like, what does he know?
Like,
You
his
know?
reaction is like expected, but then like this is how the show chose to reveal it. Like, it's not part of the plot for this episode. It's just like it's here.
And like Dororo and him are like walking down the road, and Dororo's like, "Oh, they must have taken off my clothes. Oh shit! Did that nun say anything weird about me?" And like tries to get Hyakimaru to like say anything, but he won't.
Yeah.
And then the final scene of the episode is just like Daigo hearing from an informant that the midwife of Hyakimaru, as a baby, said that he was sent down the river on a boat. And also, recently, a man with prosthetics for arms severely injured this Asakura spy. So Daigo finally has some confirmation.
The son, Hyakimaru's brother, like listening in.
Yeah, he finally overhears, so he finally knows what's going on. Too.
I don't feel like he's really going to fight. He seems very sympathizing.
Oh, I think he's gonna fight. That's the whole point. They're going to fight each other.
I think they're going to...
It's going to be sad.
I know. I think they're going to team up against their father.
No, I think they're going to fight, and it's going to be like, we're sympathetic for the brother, but like also we know that Hyakimaru has to win.
Yeah.
His sympathy seems towards Hyakimaru and his and their shared mother.
Well, yeah, but I also think even though he's still going to be loyal to his father,
I could see them starting to fight and then coming around and then going against their father together.
I think it's going to be a thing of like, I don't want to kill you, but I have to kill you, and I know it's wrong, but I have to do it.
I think that Dororo will be his greatest advocate to Tahomaru, because like Dororo might be able to explain the whole situation better. Like Dororo is the person who knows Hyakimaru better than anyone, so.
Well, and Dororo can actually fucking talk.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that
I mean, Hyakimaru is learning, but he still can't. He's not eloquent.
Right, Dororo's the linchpin in this whole scheme. So
indeed,
yeah,
she will still play a big part in it.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all develops, and if I want to see how if Hyakimaru starts to treat Dororo differently as a person now, that'll be interesting to see. But if he's like overly protective.
No, he didn't even have a reaction to it. He doesn't fucking care.
Well, he could just have a poker face, but like I don't think he'll treat him that differently.
Hopefully not.
Cat, he has a literal poker face.
Oh man!
All right.
Yes.
Okay, Leo, everybody. Thank you for listening. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube to get updates on new podcasts or videos. You can also find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher, and follow us on Twitter at Nerdom and Other for updates as well. Also, we have this awesome Discord. You can come hang out with us and talk to us.
Leo posts cat pictures every day.
Yeah, I post cat pictures all the time.
Or pictures of my dog in the message stream.
That also happens. And also, you can actually see the real faces of Kat and I.
Yes, you can.
We did meet up recently, and that's in there. Also, we definitely want reviews. Give us reviews. We love the reviews. Kat will read them in her sexy voice.
Give them to me. Come on.
Just like Kat said, give it to her. And with all that, we'll see everybody next time.
See you later.
Later.